What's going on? I'm Cashew, and this is Tediore Rafa. Here's what it's all about. Rafa has a legendary class mod called the Grenazerker. It gives an additional projectile to any Tediore chuck or grenade throw. Spear chuck that is our primary gun for the build because of its incredibly fast reload speed and sheer amount of throws that you can get out. We also use the Blockbuster and the Firepot grenades, with the help of Rafa's Filantroppo to insta-kill bosses. The skill tree is based around buffing as much ordnance and indirect projectile damage as we can so that our grenades and Tediore throws do even more damage, which is what allows us to do this.
Velocity, blast off,
On UVHM5, you will one-shot most mobs depending on your throwing accuracy, but just don't let them get too close to you when you throw, as you might down yourself. But onto the build itself. If you're not interested in any particular part, I have chapters all throughout the video so you can skip to gear, bossing, mobbing, whatever you need, as well as the whole build layout being on Mobalytics, link in the description. Okay, so getting into the build at large, here are the guns that we use. The main one, as I've already said, is the Chuck. This is the best Tediore gun in the game. Just no contest at all. This will one-shot mob enemies. Ideally, the parts you want on it is, I've got a replicated javelin right here. Ideally, you can get a replicator homing, so you don't even have to aim. But the javelin is still really good. I also got a Merv homing version, which is also really decent, so that you don't have to aim, but also then the Merv grenades deal a little bit of extra damage. That's really good. But replicator homing will be the best version. I've also got the Ruby's Grasp here as well. This is a good alternative to a homing chuck because it already is a homing Tediore throw anyways. So you don't need to get a specific part on it, so you can just farm this from Vile Lictor. It's a lot easier. But then we come down to our main bits of gear. The thing that makes this entire build work is, first of all, the Grenazerker. I don't really have any skills on it that are really that worth talking about. The skills on the comm aren't too great. We get it for its passive, which is whenever Rafa throws a grenade or a Tediore gun, he throws an additional one. This means that in a regular chuck, you throw 2, or on a replicated chuck, you throw 3, or if you also have this enhancement, this legendary Tediore enhancement that has the Digi-Divider, guns with Tediore licensed parts have a 50% chance to spawn an additional projectile on reload, you can throw 4 at once, which is insane. You can throw a lot of Tediore chucks, you can do a lot of damage. This is where the replicator homing chuck just goes so hard because you are constantly throwing 4 Tediore throws that home in on enemies, and it's just incredible. You do not have to aim, the game plays itself. For our shield, it does not really matter that much. I've got the protein cell for a little tiny bit of extra damage, but mainly because this is what I put my firmware on. And, you know, but really there are so many shields that are also really good. Like the Fireworks is really good, the Yoke's Cask is really good. You can't really go wrong with any shield that you choose as long as you like it. But really, as long as you got something with a decent capacity, you're chilling with this build, honestly. Then we got our rep kit. Right now I'm rocking just a regular order rep kit that has 2 charges that buff splash damage. You could also go for a triple bypass with splash damage, but I feel like this is all you really need. You're never really running out of charges, I feel, when we're doing this. I also got a noisy cricket for just jumping around, but then I also have just other Tediore guns, like Divided Focus exists. I never really use it though. Husky Friends is kind of the same. It exists, but I don't really use it. Then the Anarchy is a really good gun, but it's not really a Tediore chuck gun because you don't want to reload it is the thing with that. Because the good thing about the chucks is not only are they your best primary source of damage, but they are also incredibly good second win tools. So we really rarely need to even swap to at least the Ruby's Grasp. Like, it's just chuck. It's just the chuck all day, every day. Works for every situation in the game, and it is glorious. Now, going back down to the class mods, the Grenazerker is not the only one we will use, because though throwing 2 grenades and 2 Tediores at once is really nice, sometimes we also want to use the Filantroppo, and I will tell you why. Because basically, the grenades we're using here is a Blockbuster. This is a really good Blockbuster here. It's got 3 charges. Also, getting this with Nuke is really good. I recommend getting if you can get a Blockbuster with Nuke, but second best would be to have as many charges as you can on it. So this is a really decent one with like fire damage that I got here. The Blockbuster is insane. You can throw this at the base of enemies' feet, and it would just destroy the boss, provided they are weak to the element of your Blockbuster. So this destroys Inceptus, this destroys Idolater Soul easily. But then we have the best grenade in the game by a very long way, and that is the Firepot. The Firepot, when you throw it, it just starts releasing Torg stickies. And then those Torg stickies attach to a boss, and they just keep on flying out as the grenade. Even after the grenade explodes, they're still kind of coming out a little bit. And then they're all on the boss. Then we can use our Tediore chuck to explode them as a little light. So we throw our chuck, it will explode all of them, and this one-shots bosses. This absolutely destroys bosses, and this is why we want the Filantroppo. Because though throwing 2 Firepots at once is really good, you can actually get more out of it with this combo here, where we have a Timekeeper's New Shield for way more health capacity and health regen and less damage taken, and then we combine that with the Filantroppo, which gives us the skill Hemolitions. When you're in overdrive, you can use your health as ammo capacity for your grenades, basically. It costs 20% of your current health to just throw an extra grenade, and this means that you never need to stop throwing Firepots. Just ever. You enter your action skill, you just start throwing. Just over and over and over and over and over again. And because our build has really low ordnance cooldown, it means that we're not even spending that much health. We're getting so many more out this way with the Filantroppo, but I would only do this for bossing. This is not a real setup that you want to do for mobbing, just because mobbing, you can always kind of just do better anyways with kind of like this setup here. But then that does lead us to our firmware, and as you can see, we have 3 Gadget Ahoy and 2 on Airstrike. Now, you can also do Get Throwing instead of like Gadget Ahoy. That's really good. Get Throwing is really decent. Airstrike is just, we just do it for splash damage. I just noticed that had splash damage on the second one, and I was like, well, yeah, that sounds pretty good. But Gadget Ahoy is like the main one. I'm not entirely convinced on how good Ordnance kills growing at 20% damage is, because mobbing this build is completely fine. That is like, that third point is not necessary, but it is nice to have. What I will say is that if you have just like something else, like maybe you want to have like 1 Get Throwing, you can do a like you can do a 2-2-1 where you have 2 Airstrike, 2 Gadget Ahoy, and then maybe 1 Get Thrown, or maybe 1 Deadeye, or maybe 1 just anything else that does splash damage, or anything that does reload speed, or anything that does ordnance cooldown. Anything like that would be very, very helpful. But yeah, it's mainly ordnance damage and cooldown for this one, and then it's mainly the splash radius and damage for this one. Moving on to the skills, we have our whole tree landing in the remote agent tree, and then just a little bit in the people person. So this is kind of like a very baseline, you know, it's pretty standard what you would expect for a Tediore build, right? So we got Citia. This is the only skill I'm pretty sure that matters in this first section, because this will buff our Tediore damage. Nothing else we do here really matters. I mean, you could do fire rate, you could do shield stuff, but if you're wearing Timekeeper Shield for your bossing, this won't affect that at all. You can do skill damage if you want your cannons to do more, but I'm just spec'd into Huega because it's funny. Resiliencia for a little bit of damage reduction, because I needed 2 points after getting my shield full damage reduction here. But like, these skills don't matter. It's this one's matter, and we need to get down to the bottom where all the good skills are. First things first is we got Asymmetric Warfare. This is needed for any Tediore build because it buffs your Tediore damage. Indirect projectiles count not only as your action skill, but as your Tediore throws. Not ordnance damage, but your Tediore throws. And then on top of that, we have Errant Spark, which is really good. It basically means we deal bonus damage. 40% of damage dealt is now also on top of that, but it's also fire damage, which can be a little bit bad if an enemy has the worst modifier in the game that ruins all your fun, being Elemental Eater. That just exists, and there's nothing we can do about it. It just shouldn't exist. It's terrible, but whatever. We then have Confetti, which is just more damage for our ordnance in our current element, which, you know, includes kinetic, so all good. And then we have Barrage, which is just really good. This is just the reason why we want to activate our Peace Breaker cannons, because we activate that, we have more splash damage. But then we also want to double that. So we got 35% here. We want to double all of our overdrive bonuses with Soldato. So we put 5 points in here because this gun damage, anything gun damage related, does buff your Tediore chuck damage in Borderlands 4, so we'll just have that for its stacks. What's good about this is, the bad thing that usually is every time you gain a stack of Temerario, you lose accuracy, but because we're throwing chucks, we don't lose any accuracy at all, so we just get the gun damage bonus, which is really nice. But like, it doesn't really matter this. We're here for Soldato so that we can double this specifically, but we are getting more damage from this, which is nice. Then also looking at our augment, we have Instafort Battle System. We do this because it makes our cannons do ordnance damage, which is really good because we're buffing it, but also because this is your boss killer. This is your main boss killer. Basically, when you throw out the turret, it can shoot a grenade, and if that is a Blockbuster, huge damage. If that is a Firepot, huge damage. It doesn't matter what it's shooting out. This is what you want in your bossing. For mobbing, you could also do Instinto. That's like fine. Like, you know, if you want to just stay in there for a little bit longer. I'd never really activate the crit mode though. You know, but the kill skill that it gets to like have your action skill open for longer is really nice. But I never use that. I always am on insta-fort battle system just because I just like having the ordnance damage, and I really like the extra grenade throw wherever I can get it. But then that leads us to our capstone, which is just like we have the choice between volatile hollow points and double or auto shot. For my money, I think the shotguns are better. I just think they kind of deal more damage overall. And like the bad thing about the rocket launcher is that, you know, if you get too close, this can hurt you. So just like with your Tediore throws, it's just another thing on top of everything else that you can't control, and it might down you. So I mean, you can equip it if you want, if you're good at using it, like if you're good at like positioning and everything, completely fine. But I think this is just better just for like peace of mind. Moving on to people person tree, we don't really have anything here. You could really spend your points however you like. I have 1 point in Preparado. That doesn't really matter. I think maybe like move that point to lateral flanking. That's probably going to be better off for you. I like this skill. I like the idea of this skill because you're always reloading all the time with a chuck, so you're always getting your action skill cooldown. But it doesn't really matter that much. And I think I've got 2 points in here, but our class mod buffs the hell out of it, where just getting a kill gives us more ordnance cooldown. Not very good for bossing because of like, you know, reasons, but very good for mobbing if you just want to keep on throwing out like Firepots and stuff. Good thing about the Firepot is you can keep throwing that out in mob cycles, and unlike the Blockbuster, it will never down you. And then also our class mod buffs this. Whenever Rafa throws a grenade, we get more action skill cooldown. I mean, we're throwing grenades all the time, but also we're not really out of our action skill all too often, to be honest. But so it's always good to get it back though. The class mod will also buff Singria, which is whenever Rafa deals ordnance damage, he also deals increased gun damage and melee damage. Like we said before, that gun damage transfers to our Tediore chuck, so that's really good. But also what it does is, moving on to now to specializations, all of our gun damage is also benefiting our ordnance damage because of this perk here, Full Spectrum Arsenal. This is the must-have. This is the must-have skill for your specializations. Everything else is like kind of whatever. Like fragmentation payload, really good. Ordnance have a chance to crit, just sure. Why would you say no to that? Reduce ordnance cooldown whenever action skill is activated. Absolutely, you want that. And I also got riddle you this just because of the gun damage stuff. Anytime we deal gun damage, we gain a stack, you know, it's like blah blah blah. It's just good. It's just extra damage on top of everything else. Ideally, if you were level like 16 billion, right? Your specialization level 16 billion, what I would do is maybe go for one shot, one kill. Excess damage will be stored to your next gunshot. That counts for Tediore chucks, so that's really good. But honestly, I am very content, as you can see, just putting all of your points into Gadgeteer. Just keep on putting them. If you were level 16 billion, you put 16 billion points into Gadgeteer, okay? Because what makes the bossing work is having really low ordnance cooldown rate, and the lower it is, the better. But yeah, that's the Tediore Rafa setup. Now, let's kind of show you this in the mobbing spectrum. So this is, of course, on UVHM5. We've got our guy spawning in, and oh, it's a one-shot, you know? It's pretty fucking good. Sometimes they might dodge, but that's it. And that was without all of our splash damage buffs that we get from this. And that's just with the javelin, and then you really don't even have to play the game after a while, you know? You can just do this. You can just go la 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 la, homing. I've got my homing chucks, and you can just play the entire game like that. This build plays itself. That is how good the build is. You barely even have to aim. You don't have to aim. Just like general direction is all we ask of you, and you will kill everything. You can just look at the radar and go, yeah, there are still enemies up there. I guess I'll keep holding that down. All right, there's less now. Because it's all splash damage related as well, vile enemies are not difficult at all. The build will just deal with it. Alright, we're here now at the battle wagon. I'm gonna use this as a really good, like, testing ground, because it's got a boss, it's got a bunch of mob enemies. And let's try out the Ruby's Grasp here as well, because with our bonus from the Grenazerker and our bonuses from the Tediore enhancement, we throw 6 of these, which is insane because it already throws 4, which is quite a lot. And you could kind of just keep throwing these. You don't even, there's another, you don't have to aim. You do not have to like be that good at the game, which I think is why I like it so much. It's a low skill level build. We can throw out the turret, then we can just keep throwing these out. Bit of a splash damage buff. And they dead. It's as easy as that. I didn't actually throw those in a very good spot as well. A lot of the damage from that we missed, but that's okay. But now for the things that people really want to see. I mean, so of course it can mob. Nearly any build in this game can mob. Come on, Cashew. Let me see a real fight. Let me see a real fight. Okay, we're here now in Fortress Indomitor. We're going to take on Idolater Soul with the Blockbuster part of the build. We have a Filantroppo on, as you can see, just so we can keep on throwing them over and over and over again. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to activate our bonus splash damage. We're going to throw that in. Another one. 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 And he's dead. It's really fucking awesome, dude. I honestly thought the Filantroppo was not going to be a good com at all, but Hemolitions actually turns out pretty good skill. And like, that was with the Blockbuster. You have no idea what the Firepot can do. Okay, we're here now at Radix. I'm going to show you how crazy the Firepot is. Radix, if you didn't know, has the most health in the game, and also is very immune to fire damage because it's armor and shield. So we're going to do this. We're going to throw one of those. We're going to throw one of those. We're going to throw one of those. Then we're going to throw one of those. We're going to activate our splash damage. We're going to keep on throwing one of those. And maybe just one more. And then we throw that. That lights the Firepot, and he's dead. And honestly, we could have done that even faster. But, you know, just for the sake of just showing it off and just having a good time. That was the whole fucking thing. So, there you go, dude. That is the Tediore Rafa build. If you have any questions about it, do let me know, and I'll also have every single item guide that I've made for this stuff in this build specifically ready for you, just in a playlist of its own, just so you can check it out and get all the gear required a lot easier. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.